This one starts in bed. Today we're going to talk about gray area and how the modern world wants to make everything gray. 1977 Star Wars came out and it fucking controlled the world. Now that might have been like a psyop itself, right? But the reason people flock to that is because media, movies in particular, had just went through a period where it was all gray area shit, like Travis Bickle, and he's a hero, but he's not a good guy. Everything was gray area. Everything was nebulous. Star Wars clearly defined something for people. Like, these are the bad guys, these are the good guys, and people are drawn to that. People aren't. Well, the 5% of us with souls. Remember, you have to treat the other people nice anyway. Are not drawn to confusion. We're not drawn to gray area. It's not our natural. We're not naturally drawn to that. We like good and evil because that's something that's clearly defined. It's not. In today's postmodernism, people say, no, it's not complex because it's not. You know, it needs to be gray area. It needs to be complexity. Fuck you. Like I said, these are good guys. These are bad guys, and that's why it became a phenomenon. That's why people flocked to it. And that's why they had to turn it into the shit they turned it into, because it was a symbol of good things. Assholes. Alright. I'll see you in a minute. People giving Liam Gallagher a hard time online for that performance he gave at the boxing match. As someone who's spent most of his life performing on much smaller stages, that looked to me like a monitor issue. Like he couldn't hear himself. Because he's been good now for years. Ever since he kind of did his solo album come back, he's been great. So I think what happened is he couldn't hear himself. And that's why he was shouting. And the other thing that tells me it was probably a monitor issue is the way he was kind of ahead of, he was a little bit out of sync with the rest of the band. And at points it seemed like he was a little behind. So that tells me he couldn't really hear. He couldn't really hear himself. When you can't hear yourself, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. So yeah, he was a bit shouty, but it's nothing that I haven't heard with them before a million times. I think it was that bad. It's rock and roll. You know, what the fuck? You know, not like I think he needs, you know, a defense or anything. Because I see people that don't know anything like to weigh in on this kind of stuff. Oh, he's finished. All right, whatever. But yeah, good and evil. This world, in kind of media and everything, will always try to get you to go into that idea that the gray area is more human. Things are complex. You know, good and evil is old-fashioned, outmoded idea, and we can't possibly discern between good and bad ourselves. We just don't know. It's nebulous. And the reason they try to push this basically is because they want to fuck kids. That's what it all comes back to. It all comes back to their Canaanite fucking demon worship. And the Khazars are the ones that control all this stuff, the media, everything you see, the social identity of the country is controlled by them. And, you know, they're trying to get you to agree to a lot of stuff. You know, everything is, like I've said many times, it's all spellcraft, programming, mind control, etc., etc. Just keeping control of the, you know, their what they see as cattle, you know. And this idea about the good and evil not existing thing, and even occultists will say that, not me, but they'll be like, you know, the enlightened man is above good and evil. Yeah, that's because you want to bring a kid into your fucking ritual. That's it. it's very, people don't generally hew to that. Like I was saying earlier, in bed, the reason things like Star Wars were so popular when they came out is because we've just gone through like a period, especially in cinema, where it was all gray area. You know, the reality of life. You know, not everything has a happy ending. I say, well, not everything has a happy ending. You're writing the story. That's one thing I never understand. Like, it's like you're controlling what happens in it, right? As a writer. So you want to give it this depressing ending where everybody kills himself. Well, that's on you. And also, why are you doing that? You know, artistic freedom, that whole thing. Even though I would argue that it's all the same people creating this stuff, so they usually have the same kind of point of view. And I use creating very loosely because they can't really create themselves. They have to kind of get the ideas from other people, but they can pervert ideas. You know, let's just look at what happened in Star Wars. Like, they took this thing that was very good and evil, pure, not so much pure, but I mean, easy to figure out these are good guys, these are bad guys. And they made it into this, like, diversity quota, hogwash type of stuff where no one's really good, no one's really bad, and you're supposed to feel bad for the guy that's evil. Even though he killed people, he can still kiss the girl at the end. It's like, it doesn't, all kind of mixed messages there. It's fucking done. Because it's the people doing it, you know, they have, I mean, they do have an agenda, you know. It's been like that for a while. And as a comic book guy, I saw that happening in the comic industry. Well, I saw it happening. It did happen. Mid-80s, all the popular people became like anti-heroes. Even Batman became one of them. They made him one of them. Punisher or Wolverine, it's like, yeah, they might kill you, but they're really good guys. That's some confusion of morality there. And it's not so much that confusion is really it's really the main thing they're going for, whether it's within sexuality or in what's good and evil or what's permissible, what's not. They want you to be confused about it so you don't know. And then they can swing in and say, no, this is the answer. This is what you're looking for. This is how it's done. You might be confused, but we're not. There's not the nicest black guy in Ross. He was a security guard. I'm not used to that. He's like, how are you doing, sir? And this is the way he said it. I'm like, good. How are you doing? And I'm like, this is nice. Why can't I always be like this? Like, I know he still, you know, would like to see me dead, and I would like to live in a place where I didn't see him. But it was just, why can't we always be like that? You know? It was nice. He was tall, too. He was like a Black Hawk Down black guy. Like, very tall and very, very black. I thought it was one of those, at first, like those reverse things where, I don't know if you ever experienced this, but there's all black security guards here. I think it's part of the, when we brought them in a couple of years ago. I know they could have, they're all on SSDI, so you can work up to 20 hours on that. I overheard them talking about it, never mind the information I got from people who would know, who unfortunately have to remain, not unfortunately, geez, you ever give me any information at all, you know I'm good for keeping anonymity. But people that have sent me stuff were smart enough to use like a burner account anyway. But anyway, bring it all back. Yeah, it's like, why can't they all be like this? Well, we had these interactions that all be like this. You know, we both want different things. Neither of those things are ever going to happen. So just like, why can't we make the best of it? But it's rarely that way. You know, it's rarely that way. What I always find is funny are the stupid white people that are like, I'm going to show these guys I'm not racist and I'm cool. I'm going to go right up to the ATM. They're all standing around and say, hello, boys. How are you doing tonight? And then when he's in the paper for being raped, he's going to say, he's going to try to blame it on a MAGA person first. And then when they catch him, they use line, he's going to say, well, I don't want anyone deported. You know, and then you don't feel bad for people like that. Like, maybe they are destined to be weeded out. Maybe the Khazar plan is going to work. There is a lot of resistance on Twitter, though. I find on Twitter, I'm like David Duke on Twitter, just arguing with black people about stuff. I didn't mean to be that way. I just got sucked into it. And the way Twitter works is like, they show you one post about something, and there's endless posts. Or like black people misbehaving, hurting white people, jumping white people, just doing evil shit. I was looking at one the other day where these teenagers were doing some fucked up shit in the mall. The guy told them, don't do that fucked up shit. They waited for him to leave the mall, and then they fucking killed him. And one of the eyewitnesses was saying the thing he thought was strange was that as they were smashing him and jumping up and down and then murdering him, they were laughing, and he said he saw joy. And that reminds me of some researchers that went to Africa to study the disparity between African IQ and IQs in other parts of the world, the West. And they ended up discovering a lot of weird shit. That being one of those things. They'll do this awful shit to each other. One of these things is they put a tire on each other and they light it on fire. And I've seen, if you've ever been on a pole, you've seen a lot of these WebMDs of cannibalism and fucked up shit they do to each other, and always laughing and like it's hilarious. And the research was like, I don't understand that. It's like, it's almost like why are they so evil like that? Like, what? They find humor in people suffering. I don't understand it. That stuck with me for a while too. But of course, I can't have anything in my head for too long without like trying to figure out what the fuck it is yet. I've been doing some digging on that. And the thing that tipped me off to it is listening to Afrocentric people talk about the early parts of the Bible in Genesis, and specifically Cain. And they're like, well, racist white people want to say there were black people in those cities that Cain was afraid of. And I started thinking, yeah, well, that would make sense, right? I mean, but you know, when you look at all the other stuff, and I'm like, well, then that would mean they're not God's children, right? Because his family was Adam and Eve, and Cain and Abel, and they're supposed to be the first family or the first people. Yet people did exist in these cities, because Cain was afraid to go into them. So, whose people are these? And I'll tell you what, that's a fucking rabbit hole. It's still going down, though. And if it concludes the way I think it's going to, I'm not going to be able to talk about it here. That's going to be that's going to probably finally inspire me to dig all my Rumble videos out of storage, because I've been uploading that for years. Every video I've done is over on Rumble, but you can't view them because they're in some kind of thing called storage mode. And for the life of me, I can't figure out how to make them live. So they've just been sitting there, but you know, I haven't really tried. I go over there, I try a couple things and get frustrated and say, fuck this. But that may finally get me to do something there, because if it pans out the way I think it does, the way I think the research is heading, that'll be a real interesting thing, you know. And I definitely couldn't talk about it here. This is long. No one likes to use the self-checkouts, and I think those are actually closed. So this line is always 50 people deep, one register. Everything's a nightmare. Remember, whenever you're upset about racial strife or anything relating to it, the decline in quality of life in cities and stuff, just remember the people that put them there. You know, people that engineered all this. Those are the ones that you should reserve the most disdain for, because they know what mixing people does, especially mixing specific people with other people. The great Charles Carroll recently talked about something that only I've ever talked about that I know of on YouTube, and I would bet he was talking about it way before I was anyway. on his old Twitch streams. But the idea that Africa, the continent, is a people farm where they just produce people with the express purpose of then sending them all around the world, raised in a certain way to be as incompatible with society as they can. Mother Teresa, do I even go into how that's Fauci's dad? Yeah, whatever, I do that every time. Get a rest. I'll put a meme up there. Was famously always was against contraception because she said it was against the Catholic Church. But the reason she was against it is because she wants to create as many people as she can. It's like that fucking planet in Star Wars. Everything goes back to Star Wars, doesn't it? It's like that planet in Star Wars where they produce people. The weather planet. The weather planet. Fucking water planet. I take stock of a path. And then I determine if I want to take it or not. And I determined I'm gonna back out of that one and go on this one. The express purpose of that place, which is Pandora's box, in my opinion, is to create beings, people, bodies that they can then send all over the world to destabilize it, like biological weapons. And that's indeed is what happened. So I've talked about that briefly a few times, being very sheepish about it, like I do a lot of stuff because, you know, I'm trying to stay on here. But he did a great thing on it where he just comes out and says it. He's like, yeah, that's so they can grow these people to send all over the world. And I'll link it. I'll link his thing here. I did it in the community post, but I'll put it in the comments here. But yeah, that's exactly what it's for. Those things about the people starving over there is bullshit, by the way, too. No one's starving over there. They have the fucking... A lot of them are just really skinny. There is probably some villagers that are starving, but I think when it comes to these kids that they show, they keep a little shed in like a chicken farm with these little fences, and they just use the same ones all the time. You know, not to make a Sally Struthers fucking beaten into the path joke, but I mean, look, it's funny when she used to do those commercials about feeding young African kids, and she was corpulent. They did that as a joke, like, because they're laughing at you. Hey, what's up, John? How's it going, man? Yeah, they're laughing at you. They're trying to humiliate you. Everything's a humiliation. So that was purposeful that they put that big fat lady there to talk about needing food. Everything is a joke at your expense. But yeah, not even going into the Oprah thing and John of God and growing babies over there in some of their baby farms that they also had in Brazil, but Haiti, South America, well, Haiti's in, you know, fucking Africa. But yeah, they don't try, and they try to like make their environment as brutal as they can. I have a friend from Zimbabwe who talks about that place over there where she lived most of her young life. I guess she moved to Philly in her late teens, and that is a different world over there. Like the things that are permissible, like grape, for example, it's just normalized. It's just that, you know, I've said before, she's kind of makes it sound as if it's just boys behaving badly, and it's a part of every girl's life. They have billboards up over there in vain trying to tell them, no, you shouldn't do this. And the funny thing is it depicts a guy. It always depicts a guy like doing it. It's like, well, if you don't want people to do this, why are you're trying to titillate them? It looks like trashy, sort of old 60s kind of erotica novels, like the real trashy, like all the shirt ripped off. It's like it's titillating, these pictures. And like, don't do it, guys. We're telling you. Basically, they want people to be as brutal as possible. So when they get him over here, and they put this guy from the bush, who, you know, chops his friends up and eats them for really no reason, you know, I mean, that's the thing, people should be required to go to polls and look at this shit, these WebMDs, because they just wouldn't believe it. Like, they don't believe the Haitian eating cat thing. There's endless fucking WebMDs over there of people doing that, like, in that country. There's a funny one where these guys dressed in, like, I don't know, I don't even know to go into it. It's just whatever. You just have to see this stuff. I couldn't explain it and make it anywhere near the experience of seeing it yourself. But yeah, they're like gaslighting the entire world, saying they don't do that stuff. Yeah, that father whose kid supposedly died. He didn't die. The whole thing is fake. No one died. The dad's fake. Who came out and said, I wish my son was killed by a 60-year-old man. No one would ever say that. No one would ever say that. But now that I'm thinking about it, a 95% would say that. Huh. Maybe he's a 95%er. Because the 95% have no fucking souls. Anyway, we know that. That's science. So maybe it's like that. Maybe he's one of them. Still gonna be nice to him though. Still gotta treat him as you want to be treated. You know, because people get nervous when you start talking about that. Have a good day, hon. Where they, you know, where people will try to put someone on a different tier, like they try to do with us when the vac shit was going on. When you try to have a two-tier society, you're gonna be careful of that, you know. I got a mental that's just over here. This guy here, he's new. He's new in the area. He's very volatile. They keep your eye on him. Me and Nia were walking to her work the other day. I was so glad I was there. He's just in the middle of the street, like 5 in the morning, trying car doors, trying to get in cars. And some of these fucking mutants, it's like an old AI in old video games, where it's cool as long as they don't notice you. But if you get into their sort of area and they notice you, then you become what they're doing. So there's no one else out there in the morning, so he sees us and he starts heading over to us. He's doing like this thing where he's like just walking on the peripheral of us, you know, just going around our area, kind of, you know, and kept trying to let us get in front of him. And I'm like, no, fuck this. So I just stopped and I just stare him down. And all these guys, they just like, they'll shrink away when you confront them. And he just kind of looked like, you know, what? I'll let him get ahead of us. And then we walked and followed behind him so we could watch what he's doing. But yeah, he's a volatile dude. One of those guys that can just attack someone for no reason. Cops don't do shit about it because the cops they're afraid. The cops are afraid. You know, cops are afraid. They don't want to get out of their cars because, you know, they're fucking lazy. But the thing is, they don't want to pick these guys up either because their cruiser's the nicest car they've ever had. You know what I mean? So, fuck, they don't want them wrecking the back. I've seen that so many times. I've waved cops down, you know, because right over here, where this Triangle Park, there's a homeless guy just taking a fistful of garbage and throwing it at people and screaming. He's practically naked, just something barely covering his crotch. The cop stops at the light. Me and my friend go over to the cop. Like, look, we're pointing at him, pointing at him. He looks over around us at the scene, turns his face straight, and drives right away. He don't want nothing to do with it. Now the fear comes in a few different ways of fear. First of all, they're just afraid of the guys, period. You know. Secondly, they're afraid they might shoot them out of fear, and then they get in trouble. They're just not equipped for the shit, you know. And me and my friends from the East Coast, it's like we talk about the differences in the cops here. And I think what happened is this place was the second safest city in America before COVID. Of course, now it's like 11th or 9th because they brought all the fucking criminals in. But they didn't have that kind of fucking crazy crime. So they don't have the experience. So they don't know what to do. And anytime that kind of thing would happen, where a homeless guy would be going off, they'd like, if they had to do something, they end up killing him. And then the human rights people get all mad. You know, I remember one a couple of years ago, there was a guy going off near a schoolyard, and he's like with a machete. Somehow they all get machetes. I don't know what the fuck it is. But the Africans too. Africans, I think they come to this country and they give them a machete and a firearm. But he was waving around a machete near a schoolyard. Sergeant, the cops didn't know what to do, so they're just like keeping a distance from him. And they called in the sergeant, who showed up and just shot him. Which, hey, you know, good. You know what I mean? Good. But he caught a lot of flack for that. There was another story here. I've talked about it. You know, I've used it as an example many times. A guy got onto a city bus and put a hatchet into an old man's head. Random old man. Now, when the cop showed up, the guy with the hatchet was still, he was outside the bus pulled over, of course. He's walking around outside. They determined by talking to the victim before he went to the hospital, I think he lived. I think he did. But anyway, they determined that he didn't want to press charges, so there was nothing they could do. So they had to let the guy go. And by let him go, they didn't have him in the first place. Didn't go near him in the first place. They let him wander around the fucking bus stop with a hatchet in his hand, and eventually he just wandered away. Now that got on TV because there was a state prosecutor. He was like, no, you can't. The state will prosecute this guy. You don't have to get the victim to press charges. And the reason the victim didn't want to press charges, in air quotes, is because I don't think he could speak English. And he was an old, I think he was Vietnamese. He might have been in the country illegally. They didn't, you know. So they couldn't get the information. They couldn't get him to verify that he wants to press charges. So hey, they can't do anything. Just let the fucking hatchet-wielding maniac walk off into the darkness. And he did. And there was a lawyer on, the TV, like, freaking out about it. Like, they can't do that. They're supposed to. The state can bring a case against this guy. Oh, well. You know, well. And I tell you what, that prosecutor tries to rock the boat anymore, he's going to disappear. Because that's how things roll around here. I come from Massachusetts, which I used to think was the most corrupt state in the nation. Massachusetts, they got shit all this place. Oh my God. Well, just look at, just do a normie Google search anytime, type in Hawaii corruption. And just, you know, see how many results you get. You know, just pages and pages and pages and pages and pages and pages. Well, because what it is that kind of crime goes on in the government all the time. In every state. It's just that the people here are dumber, so they get caught easier. You know, and so there you go. I'm not saying people here are dumber, in my opinion. I'm, you know, referencing the national IQ map, which you can do yourself. Plus, I mean, you know, I'm not going against that. God love these people. You know, a lot of them are nice. A lot of them are nice to me. I've never had a problem with them. But the fact remains, you know, there's a lot of corruption. So as I reach my destination, as I once again dox myself like I do every episode, we talked about the racial thing, good and evil, postmodernism. Why don't you take a cigarette out of my mouth so you can hear what I'm saying? Fucking amateur. And Hawaii corruption. I think that covers it for now. I'd like to talk about more forbidden subjects, esoteric knowledge, magic and stuff, but this fucking world is so fucked up right now that it keeps taking my attention. We'll get to some stuff soon though, because I've been working on some other stuff that I'm really interested in trying to figure out. And I've been studying the Decemberists lately. That's interesting. I'll mix that stuff in. Some people find that stuff boring though. You know, but I don't know if it's the theme. Occult knowledge. Haven't done much of it. All right. Till next time. Don't blame the teacher. Blame the school. This one starts in bed. Because I guess I have to feel like I have to share have to care,